in the sky, gazing far into the night. I raise my hand to the fire, but it's no use, 'cause you can't stop it from shining through. It's
Ciao ragazzi e benvenuti in questo video profumato. Siamo a Milano. E perché siamo a Milano? Perché oggi vi voglio fare conoscere un naso che in realtà mi sta incuriosendo veramente tantissimo, ovvero Jenkins. Jenkins crea ovviamente le fragranze per questo bellissimo brand che mi incuriosisce tantissimo a livello di piramidi olfattive, a livello proprio di composizione. Sto parlando ovviamente di PICTURA Fragranze. E quindi, non aggiungo altro. Andiamo a conoscere il naso perché con quest'ultimo andremo a scoprire tutte le referenze. Let's go! E fermi, sono Alexander dal futuro. Introduco un attimo questa parte per chiedervi scusa perché nelle prossime clip l'audio non sarà perfetto. Purtroppo il luogo della registrazione non ha aiutato e diciamo non eravamo proprio ben visti in quel luogo, pur avendo ordinato, pur avendo comunque speso dei soldi e aver chiesto chiaramente l'autorizzazione per la registrazione. Vabbè, non è una polemica, però purtroppo hanno alzato la musica e quindi l'audio non è dei migliori. Vabbè, ci sta, ripeto, non è una polemica, era semplicemente per scusarmi con voi. Riprendiamo. E sono con il naso di PICTURA Fragrans, ovvero Jenkins. Jenkins, thank you so much.
Very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Yeah. Introducing your brand, please, and the 7 fragrance, correct?
Well, I mean, this is what I have here, but in total, I have 16 fragrances that are available.
Okay.
Yes.
Can you introduce the first fragrance among this one?
Among what we have here, yeah, I mean, I can talk about Le Réveil, which is pretty popular, I suppose.
Oh, okay.
It seems to be, people seem interested in it, I think, because it has this kind of gourmand adjacent vibe going, in that it's a gourmand, but it has some animalic aspects to it, some tones that are, I think, that make it just slightly more advanced. So those that are sort of on the edge of going beyond just the simple gourmand, it's a good one to go with. It's also sort of sweet and has this like nice tasty element to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the story behind it actually relates to a time that I lived in the Valais, and well, I lived in Switzerland, but I was in the Valais of Switzerland region, and I was between two villages taking a tram up the mountain.
Okay.
And the tram stopped just in between these two places.
In the middle of nowhere?
In the middle, well, kind of in the middle of nowhere,
Okay.
in the mountains, right?
Okay.
And I didn't know the area, but I knew I'd have to get to the next village to get a ride back. So I decided to take a run through the forest,
okay.
being young and crazy at that time of my life. And I got a little bit lost in the forest and sat down, and I realized I had water, and I had an Aero, you know those Aero kind of like bubbly white chocolate bars, an Aero bar. So I started munching on that kind of happily, and I realized all around me were wild forest strawberries, which are quite different than cultivated strawberries, of course. These little, smaller, almost nuclear, powerful strawberries. So I actually I started eating them too.
Okay.
And the story goes that I fell asleep in something like a dream state.
Okay.
But was woken up by a goat licking my face. Now that's not really true. That's not what happened. But I did meet a goat later on. So that much. So I wanted to bring in this element of goat, and in order to do that, which was quite convenient, I used wool absolute, which is a relatively new material that's a distillate of the wash water of goats and sheep, and it has this animalic quality, but it also has a little bit of a soapy quality because of the lanolin on the wool of the animals, and using it trace, it just softens that nuclear strawberry into this beautiful thing. It's
Wow.
pretty cool. And I think that's what makes it different.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's number one.
And
You know-
this is the number one. I cannot imagine the other.
I don't know. We may not get through all of them, to tell you the truth. Because honestly, the way that I develop my fragrances is I write the story first.
Okay.
And I think a lot of perfumers kind of work an idea like that, but it's not necessarily quite as literally as I do it. I literally have to have the inspiration of a story, whether it's a part of my history of my own life, like Réveil, or it's a contemporary idea that's impacting me in a way that I feel must be emoted through a story, through a written method.
Okay.
And then once I have that story, then I develop the notes to work on the formula, and that should bring a person through the story. So I want it to develop and transition through the stages of the fragrance as if you were living the work that I wrote.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very interesting because sometimes someone else can create the fragrance and then build the story around. Instead, it's the opposite. You start from the inspiration, the story, and then you develop it on.
Yeah, and being a solo indie artist, I have the advantage too of no editorial board, no group of people saying, "Oh, the market's going towards this direction. Why don't you tell the story a little more like that?" Or "Why don't you edit it this way?" I don't have any of that, so I can really direct from something that's really there for me.
Allora partiamo con la prima. Introduci anche te.
Can we spray?
Do you want to go? You want to do it? You want to talk about it? Oh, you want to smell it? Yes.
Smell.
I think he has it here. Just
I have.
Oh, okay.
Let's see if I have little though. I may not have it here, but I may have it here. Let's see.
Yes.
Yeah.
Quello è buono.
Try to put that in there.
Like this one.
Yeah.
I remember I talked about that.
Yeah. It's yeah.
No, I mean, there is a good balance between the gourmand notes and the animal notes. Now, I don't know
Gourmand.
Yeah, like what I was saying, it's gourmand adjacent because it's just it's not funky, but it's somehow a little bit fuzzy or a little bit animalic. And the other interesting thing about wool absolute and using that material, even in a trace amount, you'll pick it up more in the dry down, but it is a material that the next batch that comes from Robertet probably will be a little bit different because think about it, the wash water of the animals that they're using to make this material is not just their own oils, it's also whatever they're picking up in the fields and in the surrounding of the environment at the time. So their next batch may be from a different season, there may be different things blooming, so it may have a slightly different quality. Yeah.
Love white strawberry, white chocolate,
Yeah. I'm glad you like it, that's cool.
Fatto bene, non è neanche disturbante, stucchevole.
No, per niente. Io questa fragranza la conosco già. I know this fragrance already because I remember quite a while ago you sent a sample of me of this one that unfortunately I crashed it on the floor.
Right. I remember you. You emoting that you were crying.
No, but it happens while I was recording the video. And I like this very much, even though I'm not really into gourmand fragrances, but this is gourmand adjacent. It's not very sweet, it's not like stickingly sweet like a lot of gourmand fragrances. And I remember I told already in the video I did, but it still reminds me that. It kind of reminds me like an Alpenliebe candy, the milk and strawberry one, but with more depth. It's like less sweet, but like you are eating this candy with a nice goat next to you in the middle of the nature.
I like that. Well, that was the idea.
I like it very much. Also because usually when I wear like sweeter fragrances, my skin tends to enhance sweetness quite a lot.
I see, and it can be too much.
And it can be too much, but this one it's not too much at all.
Got it.
I like it very, very much.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
I also really enjoy that you really made a great balance between the dirtier animalic side, which is very soft but it's present, and the more gourmand side, the fruity side. So it's like it doesn't lean way too much neither on one side or the other, but they perfectly intertwine one another. So it's really amazing.
Thank you. Yeah.
And also, I think that the animalic part, which is very well balanced, also has a sort of addictive quality and gives an addictive quality to the fragrance. It's like you smell it and you want to smell it more and you want to smell it more and more and more and more.
And because it has this little difference to it, this little tinge of a different take on a candy bar milkshake kind of flavor sense, because it's that little difference. I think those little nuances are the things that exactly do that have people make sort of a new connection even in their mind with something that's comforting or familiar, but now with that new connection, your mind also wants to, like with language, you want to go back and figure out what it was and how to be a part of that game. Yeah, so it's cool. This is a whole different. I purposely for a show that I was just in Polaris. We took off the mechanism. So.
La nostra reazione.
No stress, don't worry. It's all.
There's the indigo here.
Oh, it's not indigo though. This one's just the Aquelarre. You know what? I know I had it. Let's see if I can find it. Oh, here it is.
Yeah.
Yep, I knew we had it.
In the black one, yes.
So the story with Aquelarre is, I really wanted to present a perfume that sort of encapsulated some of the history of older Spain and actually the persecution of the North Catalan and Basque people by old Catholic Spain and old ideas of the original witch hunts, essentially. But my feeling, what I wanted to do was sort of set the story a little bit closer to straight, which I felt was persecuting the idea of paganism is one thing, but I really think it's much more about people that have a deeper connection with nature at the time and were less concerned by only living a life under Christ, but they had this other aspect of the world that they identified with more closely. And that would, and not to mention women, and that allows witchcraft ideas to be more easily prosecuted and pursued as well, sadly, at least in the past, hopefully not as much in the future. But I really wanted to sort of like get the power of that sort of energy in the woods, and I didn't want it just to be dark at all, because I don't think it is a dark energy. I think it's a much more powerful one. And the critical ingredient that had to be used for the competition in Spain is labdanum and rock rose. So I used 3 different forms of rock rose, from a resinoid to absolute and a rock rose essential oil. So it sort of weaves its way through the entire dry down, but it's not linear at all. It tends to wax and wane and do different things with some of the floral elements and some of the whiskey, and some of the tobacco and some of that kind of wildness.
Okay.
But it's and there's a little rose. Yes, there is a little rose there too. It's complex.
Yeah, it's complex. Yeah.
So, there's that.
And also in this case, a big inspiration for the fragrance. There is a big inspiration behind the fragrance. As you mentioned it before, always the story and then the fragrance.
Of course, yeah, exactly. That's what I drew up. Yeah, ahead of working this in, and I just, when you have an idea that's that, like, the story that's that heavy, that's that serious, honestly, it's going to follow, especially if you're working with labdanum, it's going to follow that it's going to be, it's serious. But over the dry down, it becomes more mellow, but yeah.
Okay. So, do you...
I like that reaction.
Yeah, it's true that we should try the fragrance on the skin and not on the paper, but because I guess that for this type of fragrances there is a big difference of
there could be
evolution.
There certainly is. There certainly is a big evolution that goes on, especially because of those three forms of lavender.
Yeah.
I love the smoke note. Orange.
Yeah, there is a bergamot in the front. In the front, bergamot comes off, and then you're really left with a lot more of the party in the woods kind of idea. But I've had some people say it's like through the dry down, it's this kind of energy, this magical energy, this sort of party, a little bit of a heaviness in terms of just strength and power, but then later in the morning, in the middle of the, later, somebody opens a little bakery next door. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's like a little croissant shop suddenly starts making croissants right there. It has a little, I use something called toast pyrazine in it as well, which is, it has like a bready, yeasty element to it, almost like a biscotti without the sweetness.
È molto polarizzante perché ha queste note gourmand che si uniscono al whisky, note fumose, note speridate.
I'm wondering if you changed anything on the fragrance or not.
On this one?
On this one, since when I smelled it quite a while ago.
No.
So my nose changed because I really had a strong reaction to it.
Yeah.
And now I don't, and now I'm kind of able to decipher the fragrance in a way.
Right?
It's funny, yes.
Yeah.
It's strange because I really had a strong reaction to this fragrance.
First time.
Yes, the first couple of times that I smelled. Then when I recorded the video that I put online, I didn't have this strong reaction to it, and now even less. Now I kind of my nose kind of read the fragrance. I kind of smell the rose, I kind of smell the smokiness, it's kind of a sharp smokiness, a little bit to my nose.
Yeah, it's interesting
so funny.
because
it's
like to some people they feel like the bready type element that I was talking about in the mids is yeasty and bready, and then others say it's more like custardy or something. And to some that's off, and to some it's great.
I don't know what was off with me the first time that I tried. I couldn't read the fragrance in a way, but it was really putting me off.
Yeah.
So I really had a strong reaction to the fragrance.
That's good. I honestly believe with fragrances, strong reaction is the more interesting thing.
Yeah.
And it actually, my point and purpose in making fragrances isn't to just have everybody love what you do.
No.
It's because it's telling the story. And maybe, if it tells the story to you in a way where parts of the story you have a strong reaction to that are maybe even difficult. I think that's totally rational.
Yeah, but
why wouldn't it be that way?
It's so interesting that it was putting me off in such a strong way, and now it's not, and I find it interesting. And I like to smell it, and I kind of want to go back to it again and again and again. It's so weird.
Cool.
Yeah, well, nose changes.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of fragrances.
Yeah, next party in the woods, you can wear that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Instead, among your fragrances, there is some ozonic for summer, for something that reproduces the environment.
Aquincum is very has a significant ozonic and mineralic quality to it, and that's this one.
Yeah, sure.
And I have it here too.
Since now is the perfect period.
This is kind of the season. I was actually. It's pretty late in the dry down now and also I've been sweating a lot, but because it's hot.
Can you smell the dry down?
I think you probably can. It's more of a fresh idea. The idea itself is really has to do with my relationship and time with Budapest. And what I wanted to do, because I kind of have a love for that city, and I've been going there for the last 12 years probably, at least once a year. Mostly because my wife and I would meet her parents who live in Russia in Budapest. It was just more, it made more sense, it was convenient, it was also safer in many ways. Some of those things have changed, but I still go to Budapest because I love it. The baths there are very rehabilitative. They're just very peaceful, very zen-like atmosphere, and Budapest itself has this interesting, gritty Eastern European vibe. It still is in its soul. It's another city with a soul like Milan or San Francisco. So I love it. But what I wanted to do was I wanted to, in appreciation for Budapest, recreate its founding. So when Budapest was found in about AD 50, it was discovered by Romans, a Roman legion that came upon the hot water bubbling out of the ground. And this was a convenient place to take a bath, obviously. And it was probably a good place to fish, too, as it was flowing into the Danube. What I wanted to do was smell what it would have been like in the wilderness of that area at the time. So it would have been mostly forest and maybe some florals, say it's springtime, florals, and then the water and the mineralic aspects and the ozonic aspects. And
mineral note.
Yeah, and I really wanted that peace, this sense of peace, maybe having been, as a soldier, not feeling so peaceful all the way up to finding this place that has a magical quality. Yeah. Again, a long story, but does she want us to buy dessert?
No, for me, probably is my favorite because
really?
I love this type of fragrance. And if I think about the last releases on this type of fragrance, we always talk about the sea during a storm, a deep sea.
Darker water.
Yeah, exactly. Darker water. Exactly. Instead, this is
lighter.
Yeah.
It's definitely not as deep. It's not being pulled under by the whale, or it's not that kind of. I didn't want that vibe. I wanted a much more. I still wanted it to fit the idea of a classic Mouget, so a lily of the valley style, French style, but with its own thing. Yeah. You can easily bring up an image, which is probably worth doing from the website, because I made a very good, rich image.
C'è bisogno di do we need some more Viet? Because we have it in case.
Oh, perfect. Wonderful. Yeah. That's a good idea. That's a great idea. So, the story of, should I just tell it straight up? Basically, the story behind Baba Yaga is it's about being a child. It's really the fairy tale of Baba Yaga, which is as a child you're lost in the woods somewhere in probably Russia or Eastern Europe, and being in the middle of winter, you're frozen and cold, and you discover by accident Baba Yaga's hut, which is a hut that lives on chicken legs and walks through the forest under her command. and she is evil side of magic, and the children are attracted, of course, to the warm hut that has smoke coming out of the chimney, and you go into the hut and you're sort of trapped there with Baba Yaga, and you smell her house, which is bubbling with beetroot soup, otherwise known as borscht, with some kind of meat, which could be, and luckily eventually you escape. And you escape into sort of a smoky forest. In my, I guess I won't be too obvious about the parallel here, but let's just say I donate 15% of the proceeds of this one to the Ukrainian food fund for Ukrainian children. So if there's another Baba Yaga in the world, a recent, we can kind of guess what is going on there. So it's not a fun story.
And indeed, it's not a happy ending story, no?
Well, they escape, but in truth, it's mostly not. We haven't solved the issue. But I needed to talk about it somehow, so I thought this was a good parallel, sort of a tough one. And there's a disclaimer, of course. I add a disclaimer. This really isn't a perfume. It is definitely not for everybody. It's really more olfactory storytelling, and if you want to go on that journey, fine. But I'll tell you, for most people, there'll be parts of it that are certainly not meant to be enjoyable. They're cloying and difficult, and
it's the life.
For me, it's like it wouldn't be the thing I would wear, but people still like it, and because it has a story to tell that I think is an important one. A lot of people see it as sort of a theme. It certainly kind of screams that theme, I think, and a lot of people like the opening though. You're even into the opening.
I like the opening.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, be careful.
I like careful.
Yeah.
Be careful.
The drive down is exactly.
Yeah, maybe we'll just stop with that.
Fresh.
Yeah, but it's so fresh. It's blinding. It's so minty and I wanted the real a blast of an uncomfortable blast of that.
Credo che la sia una delle migliori band che abbia sentito.
And then
exactly.
and then you have to say, I apologize, and where it goes with beetroot soup is
yes, you have
also,
to wait for that part.
You probably have to wait about 15 minutes almost before it really goes
abbiamo
there.
trovato la nostra arma per sconfiggere l'estate, visto? Questa fragranza.
L'apertura, ma aspetta il dry down.
Infatti evolve sicuramente.
Sì, evolve molto. L'apertura è pazzesca.
Yeah. See, but there's some the snow and when the soup starts coming in, it's very it's troubling.
But can I tell you that as soon as I smelled it, it's like there's a lot of mint, and there's this coolness. But I smell something in the background that it's more like aromatics, more for cooking meats.
Yeah.
Probably there's already there a little bit of the soup coming through. Through aromatics, rosemary maybe. Rosemary, thyme.
Yes, there's thyme. There's thyme.
Okay.
There's a little pepper.
So it's already there. It's just cooking. So.
Yes.
I guess.
I think if I remember correctly, I even use a little bit of tarragon. Yeah. So what you would use for soup?
Melotte, no toast.
Yeah. Yes.
The best.
The toast, no.
The toast, no. The best.
Yeah.
Ok, intanto abbiamo ordinato i drink perché ci hanno imposto giustamente E quindi niente, nel mentre che raccontiamo i profumi arriveranno sicuramente i nostri drink rosa.
Un po' di refresher.
Ci sta. Ok. Let's go?
Yes.
We can
Yeah.
go ahead.
You wanted to talk us about Van Gogh's irises.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to say something about the
Yes.
irises because I just think
Beautiful.
the story is really beautiful too. I was actually seeking inspiration and went to the Metropolitan Art Museum in New York, and I just kind of wanted to get the vibe of a cool gallery as the Met is, and I walked around most of the day and got tired and sat at, in front of Van Gogh's irises. I realized was right in front of me. Hit one of his iris paintings. It was, it's enormous, and it's of that series. And I realized that during the time that he was doing irises was the last year of his life, essentially, when he was in the asylum. And during that period of time, he didn't write as often to his brother Theo, which is where we know a lot about Van Gogh's because of his writings between him and his brother. So what I decided to do was write as if I was making that writing to his brother during that period of time when he was using painting, of course, and the flowers in the garden of the asylum as his own therapy, essentially. So I really wanted to project some of the kind of heaviness, but yet beauty and therapeutic qualities of what happened with him. And if I almost dare you or try when you read the story, maybe you even want to read it separate from smelling it because it can kind of be a tearjerker. It does tend to feel pretty emotional for many people who smell it while hearing it, or having me read it to them, or them reading it while they're smelling. It's a different kind of iris. Let's put it that way. Yeah.
Okay. And in the meantime, during your story, I was wondering who is the author of these images?
Me.
You?
Well, I'm, as an indie, I pretty much do everything myself.
Oh, wow.
And I do use AI helps me a lot.
Okay, but it is a good quality of AI.
It's yeah. You know what
The paper, the good quality.
the paper is good quality. The important thing for actually utilizing AI in a nice way that isn't just like a lot of people say AI is slop, or whatever. I really don't believe that. You can work with a lot of not just good prompts based on your story and the emotionality of what you've developed first into the prompt to get really, really close imagery to the kind of thing you're trying to develop.
What you have in mind.
Yeah, and frankly, I grew up. My mother was an artist and an art teacher when I grew up, and my father was a physicist at a lab in Boeing Livermore laboratory in the United States. And I could never paint or draw very well. I never felt that I could, even though I wanted to express myself in art, I just was never able to do it that way. Technically, I just was never there. So when I found perfumery, I had so much to not only say because I, slightly older, I had a lot of stories to tell and things to discuss, but I also had a lot of pent-up artist visuality that needed to be expressed. And here we are. We have AI, and frankly, what would Andy Warhol say if you asked him if AI art is real art or not?
Good question.
Then, Andy Warhol would say, of course, it's actually giving the public the opportunity to express themselves in art in ways they wouldn't have before, and art belongs to everyone.
It is a tool for everyone.
Yes, and I think, as soon as I reach the point where I can actually afford to hire lots of graphic designers and artists. It's one of the first things I want to do. Yeah. Yeah.
I love the sandalwood, is creamy.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
I love the lavender. The animal note.
Yes.
It's
There's a little
no row of.
there's a little Qetora. Yes.
It's kind of thick somehow.
Yeah.
It's kind of thick. It's almost materic.
Sono arrivati drink, l'avevo promesso,
Ok.
Non dite che non so.
Affogato qui senza noci, senza niente di noci, ok.
Il pistacchio?
Affogato.
Yeah. I forgot to.
Della cameraman.
That's the espresso.
Il
Yes.
lici?
We're safe there, I think. Yeah.
Ma chi ve li porta sti contenuti? Cioè,
I guess so. Oh.
Wow. It actually kind of brings to mind another fragrance. Though I don't have the bottle out. Also, let's see if I have it. I'm thinking Kopi Luwak.
No,
I
you
don't
don't
have
have
it
it here.
No.
Tu forse hai un profumo che lui voleva sentire nel Discovery. Kopi Luwak, ce l'hai per caso?
Because they brought out a prompt
okay.
with the coffee. I thought,
Yes,
Yeah?
there's one here.
So we're just going to take one, just a little bit. Is it okay? No, it's yours. It's yours.
Luwak office.
Yeah. So this one, let's see. Do we have a new Moret? This one, this one's less, it's less like something that was like, coffee isn't like an important part of my life, I love coffee, on occasion, it's great. But more than anything, in this one, I just knew about this very unusual coffee called Kopi Luwak, which is an Indonesian coffee, and it's considered to be one of the most rare and expensive coffees in the world. Of course, it's the civet. The civet animal eats the coffee berries in the jungle, excretes them, then you wash, clean, completely make safe those berries, and then they dry those and use that for a coffee. And it's a very powerful coffee, but what I wanted to do is incorporate civitone, not real civet. I wouldn't do that. That's totally unethical. But use civitone as an animalic trace element to soften, and it definitely doesn't sweeten, but it adds an animalic softening quality to all the strongest parts of roasted coffee.
Okay.
So it just makes a very special coffee, but also a coffee that's very long lasting. Whereas a lot of coffee fragrances, a lot of good ones, they tend to sort of go away as top notes. In this case, no. Yeah, this is not that.
Storia del caffè.
Yeah.
Can you?
Yeah, you can smell it from there.
The chocolate nose? Chocolate?
There's a little bit. There's some elements of chocolate there.
Yes, chocolate and coffee. Correct? In top.
Yes. Yeah.
Mi piace perché smorza quella parte caffè.
Is there a boozy note something that is alcoholic or?
No, in this case, no. I mean, I think that some of the floral elements of the coffee, because I use a coffee extract called Café Santos, which is like a single origin coffee. It's a really good one. It has a lot of floral bits to it that have this kind of,
Okay, I smell behind something that is fresh.
Yeah.
On the back.
Got it. Yeah.
That's correct. I love the coffee
I find
note.
it to be very bitter.
You get bitter.
Yes,
Yeah.
I get bitter and
Yeah.
fresh,
At
but
the same-
very bitter at the same time.
Well, some of those darker roasty
Yeah.
aspects definitely have that bitter coffee thing.
Yeah.
And I think though over time, because of the civet,
Yeah?
you'll you'll notice it sort of.
Yeah, this probably needs to be tried on skin rather than on paper.
Yeah, over time.
Yeah.
It's a big enough fragrance that it's certainly not for everyone.
One more? Which one?
Surinam Vert.
Yes.
We don't have the one. We don't have the bottle with the cap, but
yes,
it's also a good story.
Okay. Yes, I want to smell it.
Is that cool? You have time? Yeah. So, when I was in university studying international development studies and epidemiology, I did an internship for about 4 months in the country of Suriname, formerly Dutch Guiana, so northern South America on the Caribbean side. And so I was working for the Pan American Health Organization, and I did an assessment, like a qualitative assessment using focus groups of the contextual, their understanding of HIV and AIDS during the early 90s. And it's a tribal animistic population, formerly slaves, maroon population called the Seramaka. And I went off the grid into the depths of the jungle for 4 months, leading small group discussions about what their concepts were of HIV and AIDS, which was crazy. It was crazy to do because it's dangerous. Also, I was a white guy, and they hadn't really worked with many of them at all, or the last time they did, it wasn't a good situation.
Yeah.
So I had to. So I, under gunpoint, had to go through sort of an initiation and everything. But when I was loading the boat, and when I knew what was coming, and when I was readying myself with my interpreters, this is the smell of loading the boat with the fruits and the coconut water and coconuts and the rice and filling the tank of the boat with gasoline. So there's a little bit of a gasoline note that actually made the fruit smells of the ripe fruit in the heat of the day even more like intense, really quite intense. Yeah. So I wanted to capture that memory and that intensity of that. And what's fun about this, I think in particular, is you don't just stay in the boat with the fruit and the water and the gasoline, but you go upriver into the jungle, and it gets warmer, and it rains on the hot rocks, and the mist comes up off the river, and you're traveling through it, and that's kind of where it goes. Yeah, and that's what happened, and it's what I hope happens here, if you know what I mean.
It's very good.
I think it's even almost a summertime.
Yes.
Could be.
Summer vibes.
Summer vibes, but not in
the traditional solar sense.
Solar.
Solar, not with the cologne. It's just
not
fresh, very green.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fresh and green and a little bit fruity.
Yeah, those tropical notes.
But it's not like the traditional fruit cocktail summer vibe on the beach.
Yeah.
Che buono.
And I instead of using to get the humidity or the smell of the jungle, I didn't use geosmin, which is kind of a common element used for sort of like a soil smell. Instead of that, I used something called miti attar, which is an attar that's produced in India, where they percolate sandalwood through clay pots. Actually, broken clay pots inside of clay pots. They run it through the clay, so this baked soil over and over, so that it picks up the mineralic, and it actually, I think it even picks up some ozonic qualities in the miti attar that help sort of bring that forward. Yeah.
It's super good. I would totally wear it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh.
doubt myself in it.
Really?
I can see myself.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
This
Cool.
I
It's
love.
not like the only fragrance.
Oh no
that I would do
no
that, you know.
no.
But it's the first time for me smelling this one compared to other fragrances
Other
I
ones,
already tried.
Yeah. Cool.
This one,
well, I'm glad you did then. That's great.
I love for my summer.
Yeah, it's nice. Like between, I mean, of the scents that I have, fragrances I have, Aquincum and Surinam Vert and Solar Wind are pretty much the most summertime. Yeah, Solar Wind is the only one that you haven't smelled yet.
Perché è una fragranza estiva però diversa.
Sì, try it on skin.
Vero?
Oh, wow, it becomes even better on skin.
You think it probably has a little more depth?
Absolutely, because here it looks like there's a lot of fog. Like it's very foggy, it's not really well defined, even though it's very green and luscious still. On skin, there's something like, there's a warmth to it that comes through, and things become more tangible in a way. So everything becomes even greener, as if this wasn't already super bright.
Right.
Yeah.
Great.
And it's incredible.
Great.
It like comes to life.
Yeah, kind of.
Nice. I'm glad you do. That's wonderful. I mean, I couldn't ask for anything more but somebody to be able to go on this journey with me. Go ahead. You were going to say.
Mi piace molto.
Anche a me. Un sacco. Vabbè, ce ne sono diverse di suoi profumi che mi piacciono molto. Questo, diciamo che diceva anche lui, è la prima volta che lo sento, mentre altre fragranze sue le avevo già provate.
Sì, questa qua non l'avevi mai provata, no?
No, questa no.
No.
È verde verdissimo.
E anche questo richiama un po' alla nebbia, quindi a qualcosa di non proprio necessariamente afferrabile, però quell'atmosfera dell'aria proprio.
Sì.
Fresco ma non...
È polarizzante,
esatto,
tipo.
sì.
I guess that we have
7.
Sì.
7. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's a big
Hai
number.
una
Yeah.
speciale, ne facciamo un'altra.
Come vuoi tu?
Sì, dai.
Fammi chiedere
The last your favorite fragrance.
Non ci hanno
I don't know.
niente a noi.
My favorite?
L'hanno tanto pressato.
They didn't bring our drinks. They
Oh,
were so pushy and then we don't have
they
drinks.
still don't have it yet. Well, look, you were asking what's my favorite?
Yeah.
My favorite is actually Aquelarre. For me, personally, that's what I wear probably the most. But if we wanted to try one more, something that I think is really, it's also intense. I don't think it's seasonal necessarily, but it's sort of one of these things that I think transcends seasons because it has more of a biblical connotation. It's called Qetora Zohar, and it's based on some data about what was made, like what incense consisted of back in like during the Aramaic period of the Middle East. So when Aramaic language was being spoken, incense was often made of like dried fruits, not just frankincense and myrrh and maybe even oud, but all of the hard to find and fragrant things almost put together into a ball and then burned slowly. I wanted to sort of convey the idea of what happened around that time, at least as stories say that the Tower of Babel was built during a time when humanity their language was one actually, and the ideologies were more close, but the leadership and the political, religious leadership thought that things were so good that you could develop a tower to God and reach the heavens. Of course, that kind of hubris is destined to fall, and the cracks formed, and when the Tower of Babel fell, the languages split, and the ideologies split, and we had Christianity and Islam, and I felt that we kind of have something going on right now that we were getting close, and it's breaking. So that's why I made Qetora Zohar. And it uses in concentrate, about 2% wild Assam oud. So it has a really big dose of oud, but interestingly enough, when it's blended with these dried fruit, dates, myrrh, a lot of naturals, you'd have to really know what oud smells like to recognize it. It's there, but it's really nice. But yeah, it's powerful. Let me see if I can.
Daniel, but after this incredible journey, I guess that the audience want to know, is it possible to buy these fragrances in Europe?
It is. I just was, 10 of my fragrances were launched at Lulua out of Krakow, Poland.
Okay.
They're carrying 10 right now. I think they may have more soon. And I've been going through cities and talking to people, and I'm transitioning out through Spain, and hopefully I'll find someone that will carry me in Barcelona. But yeah, that is.
We hope that you can find a house and home for your fragrances in Europe, more than one, and
thank you.
Are very, very interesting, and especially, I mean, the stories behind the fragrances are incredible.
Thank you. They mean a lot to me. I wouldn't have been able to do this without them. It's the primary thing. Could you hand me the little book of Moet?
The price? $1?
Yeah, it differs, but typically, I mean, most of my fragrances are $195 US.
Okay.
And I think there are a couple that are more like $235, but generally that's the range.
Right.
Well,
Okay.
Qetora Zohar is the only one that is nearly 300, and that's just because I'm using a pretty healthy dose of champaka, actually, absolute, which is not cheap. Yeah. It's and the oud itself are about 2% of concentrate. It's like.
Ok. Voi avete domande, ragazze?
To be honest, it was like an incredible journey because everything was very different to a lot of things I've smelled on the market. But also, I think that like despite you actually envision them through a specific story, I think that you can actually, based on each experience that we can have, you can actually contextualize them in our personal experiences or imagination.
Sure.
Because they're very complex, they're very rich, and they're very unique. So definitely worth sniffing for sure.
Wonderful. Yeah, that's cool. Thank you.
Ok, Jenkins. Thank you so much.
It's so nice to finally meet you, and hopefully I can come back next year and show you some other things.
Ok.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Big luck.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.